I'm 28F, my husband is 30M, and I just found out he's having an affair with his stepsister 29F. My head is spinning and I feel sick. Here's some background. His parents divorced when he was 15 and his dad remarried when he was 17. His stepmom had a daughter, let's call her Bella, who was 16 when their parents married. They lived together for maybe a year and a half before my husband went off to college, which is where he and I met during freshman year. Bella started attending our college during our sophomore year. He introduced her to our friend group, and she became a regular part of it. They always acted more like friends than siblings, which I guess made sense since they weren't raised together for long, and there's no biological relation. They'd sometimes refer to each other as bro and sis, but there was always a strange dynamic I couldn't quite place. Back then I occasionally felt like she was flirting with him, but he didn't seem to reciprocate, so I dismissed it as me overthinking or maybe just her flirty personality. I didn't want to be the jealous girlfriend jumping at shadows. Fast forward to now, we're all back in our hometown and still hang out pretty regularly. Bella is single and hasn't dated anyone seriously in years. She and my husband are very close. When we're all hanging out, including their parents, she'll sit pressed right up against him on the couch or rest her head on his shoulder if he's showing her something on his phone. It always struck me as odd, but I kept brushing it off. I told myself, they're not really siblings, and it's probably just how they are. But over the last 6 months, things have started to feel off. Both my husband and I's birthdays are in April and only a week apart, so over the last couple years we've kind of just combined them and celebrated both at the same time. We had friends and family over, and normally we also receive joint gifts, but this year Bella got my husband something specific to him, fairly expensive gaming headphones and a watch, but nothing for me, and she also got him a card and wrote a decent amount in it. I didn't get to read it when we were opening things, and then later on I couldn't find it when I asked my husband where it was. He brushed it off, saying, oh, he must have accidentally thrown it out with its envelope. The envelope was still with everything else on the counter. They've been texting a lot more, and she's also been talking to me less. Remember, her and I have been friends for the last 5 years. Sometimes I'll see texts from her pop up on his phone screen, and there will be emojis. This will be while he's holding it, and he'll unlock it pretty fast, so I've never really been able to see what they say if I ask her to meet up or hang out with just me. She's always busy, but if it's her coming over our home to see the both of us, she never says no. He also has been going to see her more often, which is kind of a complicated detail because she still lives at home with her mom and his dad, so he just tells me he's going to hang out with his dad for a bit, but I have a feeling it's for her. Him and I have also been less intimate lately. Neither of us have ever had super high sex drives, but we have always averaged at least twice a week, and now it's about 2 to 3 times a month. What's pushed me over the edge is when we all got together this past July 4th. We were at my Phil's house for a big cookout pool party. While in the pool, she kept hanging on him from behind, picturing giving her a piggyback ride in the water, splashing him, being overly playful, etc. I kept thinking in my head I was crazy because maybe after all these years they really do have a sibling-like dynamic and she's just messing around. But I also caught her staring at me when my husband and I were being close, and she looked angry. Now cut to the worst of it all. We all were done in the pool and went inside to change. I was with my husband in his room, and right in the middle of us changing, she came in without knocking, randomly asking if she could borrow my hairdress. My husband didn't have any clothes on. I was horrified and said something like, you need to knock first. She seemed unfazed, and Leslie covered her eyes, saying, oh, whatever, he's basically like my brother. My husband seemed kind of embarrassed, but also not as much as you'd expect. She left like it was nothing. Since then she has barely spoken to me at all, and I'm absolutely spiraling at the thought of this. Am I being crazy? I haven't said anything to him yet about this because I'm so scared to be wrong, and then I'm just accusing him of sleeping with his stepsister. I need others to tell me if they agree with what I've been seeing or not. Small update. Thank you to everyone who has responded. When I made this post, I was hoping for validation of my worries, but also scared of that at the same time. I'm trying to keep it together and act normal around him the best I can. Tomorrow he's going over his dad's, so he says, so I plan to show up there and see what's going on. Update. Hey everyone, sorry that it's been so long since I made my original post about this. To say that our family has totally imploded since I last posted would be an understatement. So much has happened that I never expected or was prepared for, so I apologize that I kind of ghosted all of you, but this has been really hard. Just in Fi, I'll be mentioning text messages a fair amount, and it will be paraphrasing. Leaving off from my last update, I did go to his dad's house that weekend that my husband told me he was going to see him. When I got there, only my husband's car was in the driveway. I wasn't sure what to do, if I should try calling his dad, calling my husband, or what. I decided to just go in because I didn't want to play games. I walk in and hear his and Bella voices coming from the kitchen, and it sounded like they were yelling. Even now I couldn't tell you what they were saying. I was so full of adrenaline as I approached them. It was like I was Watching them on mute or something and not actually hearing what was happening, he spotted me and looked like a deer in the headlights, and all I could muster up was to say, "What's going on?" I stared at them for a couple seconds and then my fight or flight kicked in. I'm very non-confrontational, so my instinct was to turn around and run. He chased after me and pulled me into a guest room to talk again. Then I asked what was going on, that he's been acting so weird and so is Bella, and point blank asked if he was cheating on me. He seemed shocked at the question but then out of nowhere started bawling his eyes out. I've never seen my husband cry before. He said that no, he's not cheating but has something to tell me, but couldn't do it there and needed to leave / for us to go back to our house. At first I protested and said no, I needed to know right then and there, but he still was having a breakdown begging me, so I agreed. We left his car there and drove home together in mine, but I sat in silence the whole ride as he cried and was trying to collect himself. When we got home we sat in the living room and I once again asked him what was happening, and my patience had run thin. Then out came his word vomit. He told me that in college, our junior Bella sophomore year, after him and a bunch of our friends had gone to a party, we were dating by this time, but I wasn't there that night. I'd come home for the weekend to hang out with family that was in town, and he got really drunk. Our guy friends kind of ditched him to go hook up, so Bella offered him to crash on her couch for the night. Our school had on-campus apartments, and she had a single BST was in raw. He said he woke up at some point after that with his pants down and her on top of him having sex. He told me at the time he felt out of it and didn't really get what was happening, and that's all he remembers was waking up and feeling it, seeing her. He then woke up again a couple hours later and she was asleep in her own bed, so he left and went back to his own dorm. He never told anyone. It took him a long time to even fully understand what had happened, and he felt like he couldn't tell anybody because 1, he felt ashamed and embarrassed. 2, he didn't think anyone would believe him. 3, he didn't want to be known as the guy that slept with his stepsister. 4, he was afraid of losing me, and 5, he was worried about his dad and if he found out that it could affect or ruin his new marriage, and that his dad is so happy with his stepmom. He told me he basically just acted like nothing happened even around Bella when we all hung out together. He said him and her never spoke about it or said anything until a couple years later when Emma and I got engaged after graduation. She sent him a text essentially saying she loved him and thought about that night all the time, and that why did their parents have to meet and get married, they could be together otherwise, etc. Essentially she is obsessed with him. Shamefully, I will admit, when he first told me all of this, I wasn't sure what to think or believe until I saw their text messages. I questioned him, saying if this was the case, why are they always talking? Why wouldn't he distance himself now that we're married and out of school? He told me it started up again with her about 6 months ago, like I said on my original post, when him and I told our families that we decided we wanted to try for a baby. He had a screenshot of the text she sent him the next day, ranting about how he shouldn't do this. Marriages aren't permanent until a baby comes into the mix. There's still a chance for them to be honest with their family, and for him to leave me. She still loves him after all this time, etc. He replied saying he loved me and wanted to start a family, that he didn't love her in that way, and never wanted me to bring this up to him ever again. That's when her demeanor changed and she said if he didn't love her, why did he cheat her, and what would their family think, essentially blackmailing him. I read through as many of their texts as I could handle, and it was always her saying things like she was thinking about him, she wants to see him. She'd even send texts while we were all together telling him he looks good in that outfit. Sometimes he wouldn't reply, and others he'd be trying to have a normal convo, steer it in a different direction, and sometimes just telling her to stop it. The days he's told me he's going to hang out with his dad, it's her begging him to go over there so she can see him, or she will tell her mom everything so he'd agree to go, but he swears nothing has ever happened, that one of their parents would be there a majority of the time, and it would just be all of them on the patio or in the living room. That day he went there to tell her he was sick of it and couldn't do it anymore. She could tell people whatever she wants, but he was done, and that's why they were yelling. I sat there taking it all in and honestly was speechless, as I did not expect any of this. I asked him about our sudden lack of intimacy, essentially only during my fertile window since we're trying for a baby, but never any other time, and he said all of this being brought up for him mentally has made him shut down about sex. He was only doing it for me because I want a baby, that it's taken him so long to realize / come to terms with that fact that she assaulted him, and how this harassment. I cried. I felt betrayed by her, and then a heavy deep empathy for him. I just hugged him and cried, and he cried too. I told him he really needs to tell his dad because we can no longer associate with her in any way, and how can we manage that when she lives with him? At first he said no, he couldn't because he's worried they won't believe him, and also doesn't want to ruin his dad's life, because how could the marriage with his stepmom survive this? I told him I don't have an answer for that. He has to trust that his dad will believe him, and I was also Worried about her panicking after their argument and doing something crazy, he agreed to tell his dad and said he wanted to do it alone. The following weekend, he met up with dad and told him everything, showed the text to him, etc. His dad believed him and, like me, was caught off guard and speechless. This led to him telling his wife and saying he was kicking Bella out. However, his wife did not believe it. She claims my husband must have edited the text somehow. Actual texts in the message app that you can scroll through, and it's Bella's number attached to the contact. Bella freaked out, saying none of it was true and he was the one who had been harassing her. That's when my husband threatened to take it all to the police for an order of protection against her if she did not tell the truth, and she finally admitted to everything in an insane meltdown. His stepmom is horrified. His dad doesn't know if he can get past her not believing my husband and accusing him. We're currently in this weird limbo phase of the whole family on edge. Bella is still living there. His dad has demanded she leave and has given her 2 weeks instead of kicking her out on the spot in an attempt to try and salvage the situation with his wife. My husband and I are having lots of talks trying to regroup. We've put trying for a baby on hold as he seeks therapy for this. He still is considering going to the police for the harassment. My heart is broken for him, and also trying to come to terms with the truth that Bella, who I've known for years, would do something like this. I was prepared to uncover an affair, but never this. I'm not sure if there will be any more updates after this. Maybe if my husband decides to pursue legal action. I want to say thanks to everybody who pushed for me to dig into my suspicions. Otherwise, this could have gone even further. I don't like to think of what could have happened.